Hi everybody, Dave from Blueberries Games here. This is the first of what I hope to be many videos of me opening up booster boxes for everybody. Today we're going to be opening up a Core Set 2020 sealed booster. I'm just going to get started and then we'll go over things as we go. Alright, so here we go. So, I have a list of cards that I'm looking to get here. Obviously, everybody's hoping to get specific cards from a specific set. Usually a core set is really not that interesting, but for some reason, they have decided to make the core set really good this year. Alright, so I am a little different than everybody else. Oh, there's a good one. I run a non-actual store. What I run is a con-scene. Well, that's a good rare. And in that con-scene, what I attempt to do is help new players join the game and make them decks as they learn how to play with different levels of advanced, strategies, in hopes to get them interested in the game and go from there. So when I tell you I'm looking for specific cards in a set, I'm looking for specific cards that are not really high dollar cards, but more along the lines of playability. So for instance, I know that everybody in this set is looking for Risen Reef or a Leafkin Druid, so they can play that Elementals deck that everybody's talking about. However, for me, I try to make it so that these new players can play something that's not just competitive but fun for them to learn with. So I'm looking for other stuff like, let's see, for instance, on the commons, I'm looking for things like Wildfire Elemental so I can get them started with an easier, less advanced deck, but at least learn how to do it as they go. As you can see, I'm putting them into piles. I try to put the rares and the mythics on the left. I usually separate out the lands so that I have enough lands to build them the decks as I go. And hopefully I'll get a lot of the stuff that I'm looking for. I have next to me a really nice long list of cards that I'm hoping to pull. Like, for instance, that's one of them. So I put that to the side. I'll put that right here. That's a good one right there. That's a good one too. Cavaliers. So not all the Cavaliers were created equal, obviously. This one's not a horrible one, but it's not as good as the green one. But you can't expect to get everything good out of every pack. But again, like I said, Core Set 2020 had a lot of cards that were just way better than normal for a Core Set. What I mostly look for in the common spots is lands to help people, so when I make them a 2-color deck, they can go ahead and actually at least, have fun with it and play it, rather than just be sitting there getting either mana flooded or, as we say, mana screwed. Alright. Not bad. I mean, some of these cards, there it is. That's the Elemental I was hoping to pull so that I could build a deck for somebody that plays around the Elementals. Possibly use it with a Ball of Lightning or something like that so I can keep recurring it so they learn how to do that. And an interesting foil dual land. Not a true dual, naturally, but something that I can actually put into a deck for somebody so they can actually use it. And yes, I keep everything from every pack. I never throw anything away. You never know what you're going to need. Like I said, I basically do is open up these packs, and then I go to a con twice a year where I sell people pre-made decks, very cheaply so that they can learn how to play the game. You know, I sell 2 decks at a time so that if they have a friend, they can play with their friend, learn together. It's kind of a fun way to do it. I've always been an advocate for making it so that others learn how to play this game. It's a really good game, and I like others to enjoy it as much as I have. I've been playing this game since beta. Yes, I'm that old. And I'm hoping that I can get more and more people into it. I've done roughly 12 cons total. I've been doing it since 2013 is when I actually signed up for my first con, and decided that this has been my calling, my passion for years. I've actually owned a comic shop at one point in time, way back in 1998, at 18 years old. Had a nice business partner, didn't work out, and had been chasing that dream ever since to do again. And then I ended up basically just doing cons instead because there's no overhead involved, so I get to actually enjoy it. Don't make any money at it, that's for sure. This is all for just, you know, me getting the word out there of playing this game. It's a really, you know, big passion of mine. I like showing people how to play. I like actually making decks. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to just make decks for people and watch them enjoy playing them. I've done it for years, and this is how I do it. Usually what I do is I order a case of every new set that comes out and open up at least 2 or 3 boxes, put a couple boxes aside, and make decks for people, sell off some of the commons and uncommons to them that they can make decks with. And then go from there. I actually have behind me about 15 boxes that I will be making videos of me opening, hopefully in the very next couple days, maybe the next couple weeks. Not really sure. Hopefully this, you know, you guys like this, and we can kind of make this a every 2-week thing, or every, you know, every month or what have you. Oh, there's a nice Cavalier right there. And my foil. It's not a horrible one. So yeah, I want to continue doing this, and hopefully I can get to this box quicker than, you know, 36 packs, you know, half hour. Hopefully I can get through it quickly enough for you. There's a good one right there. Epicure of Blood. Apparently vampires are the new thing in Core Set 2020 standard. So what I try to do is I try to kind of duplicate what's currently hot in the world of Magic. So when I make a deck, now that's a good one right there. When I make a deck, I try to make it a $20 version of what usually ends up being, I don't know, $300 deck. So it's not easy. So obviously you have to replace cards with other cards. Hence the reason I look for the dual lands out of every core set, every set. My biggest thing is gates. The gates are always what I use to help for two-color decks for my new players. Alright, what we got here? Crazy Alarm is good. So, for the next con coming up, I have put together about 40 decks in hopes that people can learn how to play off of them and still compete. They're not exactly standard. They're a little different because I have a lot of cards and I want to get as many out to people as I can. So what I have is basically somewhat standard decks. You know, obviously with the rotation coming, most of the decks will not be standard because, well, then you can't really make a lot of good decks for people to play with 3 sets. So I try to keep them within the last couple years of sets, and I do pretty well with them. Some of them I gotta say I'm pretty proud of. You know, for mostly commons and uncommons. They're not pauper decks by any stretch of the imagination. They seem to be rather, I don't know, the pauper decks that are out there seem to be rather focused on one thing or another. I like to try to spread my theories out. You know, for instance, they usually do like a, well, that's a good one right there. And that's a really good one. I'm actually making a deck for people with this. Lots of people like werewolves, I included. So my hope is that I can actually make a pretty decent werewolf deck with that. But anyway, as I was saying, the decks that I have in mind or in store, I'm pretty proud of a lot of them. They're mostly creature-based decks so that people get the basic idea of how to play. And then they kind of go from there. I have one deck I'm more proud of than the rest. It's my Ornithopter deck that I make for people. And yes, Ornithopters, they can win a game. I have realized that that's a possibility. You know, it has Esperzoas in it so that you can bounce them back and keep putting them out there and keep casting things. And, you know, it's just a really fun deck. It kind of loops around, you know, with specific things that help you keep shuffling your deck or your graveyard into your deck or into your library, sorry. Using, I can't remember the name of the artifact right now. The artifact that, Elixir. Using an elixir, they just keep looping back and forth. Gaining life, casting creatures, and it has in there the ability to keep casting creatures over and over again. And then it's usually artifacts, so I have in there something that puts out more stuff as you cast. So here's a good one right here for the elemental deck that I'm going to make for people. Ooh. I like that they started doing this. Uncommon planeswalkers. For those of us that can't afford to get the $50 things like, you know, Teferi. At least we have something we can get, right? So. Not a good one there. One of the more important things. Cards like this, Evolving Wilds. I usually like to stock up on them as much as possible because when you're doing decks for people, one of the biggest things you want to be able to do is have them get the right colors. And Evolving Wilds is a good cheap way to do it. So if you know, fetches are great. Obviously there's a price point to them. You can't sell them for a whole deck for $20. So they kind of fit a nice little hole there. Alright, more elementals. So it looks like the core set will obviously help me make a new deck for elementals for somebody. Murders are always good to stock up. One of the things that I always put inside all of my my decks for ever since the beginning has been creature removal, because creature removal is important because you just got to get rid of the opposing creatures. Interesting card. Manifold Key is an interesting card. Okay, so it's like all the other keys, only for some reason it turned into one of the previous lands that actually like makes your creature unblockable. So I will put that in a deck one day. This one here, Icon of Ancestry. I like getting this kind of card. I recently, as of this con coming up, started making commander decks because I've had an increasing demand of people asking me, do you have any commander decks? And I didn't, because I was like, commander decks are kind of personal. You know, when you make a commander deck, not only is it hard because they cost a lot, but they're really, really personal to the person who makes them. You know, they kind of make a lot of things that they like to play, not necessarily that they think is powerful or anything like that. They just like to play certain ways, and it's kind of hard to make a deck for somebody when you don't know how they personally like to play all the time, because everybody likes to play differently. I'm a control player. I have been since the days of beta. You know, I'm a blue player by heart. Counterspell was the first card I built a deck around. Yeah, I know. Everybody hates it, but it is what it is. And so everybody likes to play differently. I myself will play control above all else. However, I was asked by a friend of mine to build them a commander deck recently. Now, the one thing about her was I knew her since she was 13. Mind you, she's almost 40 now. I'm 40. So I had some, some time to get to know her. Known her for years. And she asked me, can you make me a deck, a commander deck? And now realize her budget was $20. Try making a commander deck for somebody at $20 where you don't lose money. It's not really possible. But I was able to do it. I didn't lose much. And I made it something unique to her. She's a huge fan of zombies. And I was able to make it for her. It's not the most powerful of decks, but it was good enough that she's having fun with it right now with her friends. And I was happy about that, It's one of those things where as long as they're happy, I'm happy. Because like I said, I myself really like to make decks for people. I'd rather make a deck for somebody than actually play the game. That's a foil right there. It's not a bad one. Also, I'm currently making a deck for somebody. I don't know the person very well. I met them online in a game, and we continued talking. Found out he started playing Magic. Started giving him some hints because everybody needs to learn how to play, in a more advanced way at some point. Gave him some hints. I've made him about 4 decks over the years, and finally he asked me, "Can you make me a commander deck?" And I decided that I would take it. Now, this all happened within the same month as my friend who asked me to make her a deck. So now I'm trying to make 2 decks. And it actually helped me because I was able to pull cards out that I was like, yeah, that would work for people. So, Kethis. This is an interesting pull. I'm not sure if when the rotation happens coming up, that this deck that people are playing will actually survive. Because the Moxes will not be in Standard, but it's an interesting card nonetheless. I was kind of hoping for a Kakar. I myself, when I play, I like to play, Commander. So I'm hoping to find. I have not yet found a Kakar out of any pack I've opened. And mind you, I've opened a box previously. This is not my first Core Set 2020 box. So I myself personally want to find a Kakar because I would love to make a deck based around that card. Bad pack for what I'm looking for. Turned into a good one. That's a great card. Veil of Summer is obviously going to be quite heavily used. So this pack hasn't really been all that great, but it is what it is. And I see the rare, and that's, people want to try to make a deck around that. It's not really worth doing for me. I can't make anybody a deck off of that. But yeah, so I'm 40, just so you guys know. I started doing this. I'm doing this right now because I'm disabled. I'm not actually able to really go out much. I have multiple sclerosis, so especially in the summertime, I get really affected by it. I'm not able to work because it's a very debilitating thing. So I've basically turned into somebody who sits at home, and I do whatever I can to get by. Like I said, I buy a case of every new set every time one comes out, or at least most of the time. Ooh. I will talk about this card in a second. Let me finish my story. Ooh, not bad. I've been disabled for about 7 years now. I was diagnosed on May 9th of 2013. I know that date well because it was my son's birthday. I was diagnosed with MS. And I thought everything was over. I thought that I wasn't going to be able to do anything. At the time, I was unable to talk. It was one of the things that made me have to go to the hospital, was I was unable to talk. So if you hear me start to stutter a little bit, I apologize. That's actually one of my symptoms. So bear with me if it happens. So I go to the hospital and I end up being diagnosed with MS on my son's birthday, which, it was pretty devastating. At the time, I was a dispatcher for police. It's a great job, but unfortunately, if you can't talk, you can't dispatch, especially if somebody's life is on the line. So here I am, unable to work because it affected other things as well, but that was the most important because that was my living. So I decided to try something new. And not being able to have a conventional job because of the MS, I decided a friend of mine actually decided, let's go do some cons. He said, you do magic all the time. And I said, yeah, I've been doing, stuff with magic for my whole life. So we did some cons, learned a couple lessons on how to do the cons my way. I don't do them the same way other people do them. I learned this because I decided to join a con that was specifically just magic based. Let me tell you, the magic con scene is way different than I would do it myself. I have a theory that people want stuff they can't get their hands on, not just rares or mythics, because those are expensive. But they also want commons and uncommons, which is why when I open these packs, I put aside a stack of commons just like this. All playable stuff that I think that everybody would be able to play with. Most people just throw them into a pile and then they just go into a box. And you know what I do? I buy them up. I buy them up for whatever I can get my hands on and put them in decks and sell those to new players so that they have an experience that they really, really would like to have. Not just getting their butt whooped over and over and over again. So, but anyway. So I started doing the cons, and my first one was a disaster. Didn't have it done right, but I had never done it before. Just like this video, which may be a disaster, but that's okay. And I learned some lessons. I do them with my girlfriend. She's been very supportive in everything. And she came up with an idea, so I started to run with the ideas and became successful at it. When I say successful, I do not mean that I make money at this. By no means do I make money doing this. I buy the case, I open the packs, I make the decks, I sell the decks. I barely break even, if I break even. I do this for the love. I just really like getting new people into Magic. Or talking Magic with players who have been around for a while, like myself, or even for a little bit. I like giving them insight into how things, are going. I keep up with everything, even though I can't go out to the tournaments. I can't go out to the local game store. I basically am, unable to do all that. So I read everything I can. I go to the con once every 6 months. I do what I can. And, I'm happy with that. And this is actually from the same person who helped me start doing the cons. He kind of suggested, since you're opening up these packs all the time anyway, why not let other people see you do it? And I thought to myself, okay, I can do that. So you'll have to excuse the production value. I'm not really savvy when it comes to this stuff. I haven't really caught up with technology. It's been a while. So what you've got here is me with a phone. That's all I have is a phone, a little stand, and my box open. I will not be editing these videos. You will get everything as they happen. If something goes horribly wrong, it will still be in there. So I have a list here. Back to Risen Reef, though, now that I remembered that. And again, excuse me, I have MS, so my memory is a little scattered. Risen Reef, I saw the card spoiled. I thought to myself, are they really going to make that kind of a card? The card seems rather ridiculous. I know that they're trying to bolster the blue-green I get that, and I'm happy for that. I've been an advocate of them doing that for years. I really do like it when they put blue and green together and actually like give it a little bit of a power. But the Risen Reef, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it's a mini Animar for the most part. It combos too easily. And lo and behold, they make it an elemental, and they're touting the elementals, which I'm okay with. But wow, they really are touting that. I'm a big fan of it, but I played it on MTG Arena the other day. It was I'm gonna try not to curse here, but it was pretty screwed up. I mean, it was ridiculous. There we go. That's a good one right there. That one will go on the deck. Temples. I'm not a big fan of the temples being reprinted. When I opened up my packs that originally had them in them, I didn't like them then. I don't really like them now. I mean, I've already got a whole bunch of them. I think I got a full play set, and I can't do anything with them because nobody really buys them. Nobody ever uses them, really, for anything except for standard, and then when they get rotated out, they get thrown back into a box for when they're going to be reprinted again. It's kind of a sad thing. I like the Buddy Lands myself, the ones that come into play tapped unless you control whatever color they produced. So, you know, blue, white. So, if you, those lands, I can get down with them. I can't get down with these temples. They're just not good. This card here, I'm going to try my hardest to... I make an elf deck every con. It usually sells within 5 seconds. Everybody loves elves. I'm going to try to do something with that. Make it a little, you know, more interesting than just, you know, elves produce a lot of mana, make big creature go. I want to try to give it a little bit more theme to it than that. Not really easy, though. It's kind of what they do. It's not really hard. And then vampires. The new bogeyman of Standard. This guy right here. I play with him on Arena. He's so broken if you get him first turn. Especially with some of the formats that they have out there. Like, they did a Planecation event recently, and man, it was, is that foil? No, it's not foil. Darn. Planecation event where I was able to get 2 of them out on first turn, and I literally just stomped the guy in 3 turns. That should not happen. But it was fun. It was fun. So my list here. I've got a list next to me of cards I'm looking for that I want to build decks around. As you can see, I have a pile here. That's just stuff that I like to set aside. Either ideas have come to my head that I want to make for people, or they're really good cards that, you know, can be used later. Could be used in Standard, could be used in Modern. Not very many vintage cards get made lately. There are some, but not very many. I mean, Renin 6 was the last, you know, was the first one in a while. I really don't like seeing that as my... So, every box roughly has a full rare or mythic. My last box I opened, guess what it was? It was this. A temple. Probably the same one. And I was just complaining how I hate them. Of course, it would give me that as my foil rare. I was hoping for anything but a temple as my foil rare. I don't care if it's a bad one or a good one, but foil temples do not excite me. But anyway, back to my list, which was rudely interrupted by a really bad foil rare. So my list of commons is immense. This is one of them here, Murder, because it's usable. People need it. When I make a deck, you kind of need utility cards. That's one of them. Alright. And then a Chandra. Anyway. That's not bad. Oh, I was just talking about this. This may be the best card I've opened out of any box in the last 2 years. A full Risen Reef. Now, normally I would try to make a deck around a card like this, and I'm going to, but this specifically, This was going in my personal collection because I kind of liked the card. I saw it spoiled. I loved it. Thought it was overpowered, but hey, it is what it is. But that is my favorite card I've opened in the last couple years, and that's even over a Chandra Planeswalker. I would value that Risen Reef way higher than I would value that Chandra. And only not value as in monetarily. A lot of people like to monetarily value things. I like playability. To me, playability is where it's at. And yes, Chandra may be playable, but really? For Risen Reef? Come on. That's probably going to be the most played card out of the Core Set 2020. So, while the foil rare was a bust, the foil uncommon out of this was a resounding success. Alright, I keep getting off track. Back to my list here. So I have this list of stuff. And it's kind of hard to open the packs and read the list and open another pack and read the list. So as I'm going through, hopefully I pull more and I can show you what my list looks like. Just to give an insight. Like, I would pull that normally. But I haven't really found a deck that I can use that with that would, you know, people would be happy with. They'd be able to actually, like, win a game. I like them to be able to at least win a game. Like, this is a card that I'm on the fence about. It's pretty good. I mean, you always need sweepers. So I'm going to see if I can't use that to my advantage at some point to help build a deck. But it's not always that easy. This is another one I'm on the fence about. Because zombies, they're not really prominent right now. But I don't always make a standard deck. I make decks that just are usable. So I'll try it. I'm sure I can make a black-white zombie deck for somebody at some point. Usually I make a blue-black or just a straight black. But, you know, the card gives me a possibility. It's the same thing with the the black-green elves that I got from, like, Origins and from Ravnica. They're good enough, but whether or not I can come up with a deck or not that fits a theme. Because I always like to make a theme for them when I make them. You know, like I said, I have an Ornithopter deck. I'll tell you what, I will tout that Ornithopter deck to the day I die. It's one of my favorite things I've made for $20. You can sit there and play an Ornithopter deck, and it will win. It is really just an interesting deck. Ooh, Colossus Hammer. 2-turn kill in some cases. That's a good one. Alright. Ooh. Excuse me. That is one of the cards on my list. A lot of people like this card. It's a dinosaur zombie. Come on now. Who doesn't like zombie dinosaurs? Alright, so obviously on the list of rares and mythics, everybody wants planeswalkers. Everybody wants, you know, the Cavaliers. Everybody wants, you know, there's a whole bunch of things. The ley lines, which by the way, I haven't seen I think I got one. On my first box I opened, I had 3 ley lines of the void. I'm not going to complain about that. But, really? 3 ley lines of the void. Alright, so this card right here. Good usable card for make a deck with. So somebody wants to recur things. Somebody wants to put -1/-1 counters on things. It's just a usable card. So that's one of them. Another one. Healer of the Glade. I don't see the use for it really other than in an elemental deck. But it helps. I mean, it's a 1/2 for 1. You can't really go wrong with that. It fits the new theme that they're trying to tout in Core Set. So, you know, I put it aside. And maybe, you know, I put it into a deck that's, you know, green-based. I have put together for the next con a red-based elemental deck because there's a lot of red elementals. But I have to see if I can do green now that they've put a lot of them in here. Here's what I'm on the fence about. Meteor Golem. It can be useful in the right situations, but usually that looks to be for draft or sealed deck. Nothing there. Thought Distortion. Yeah. And a good old temple. Because temples, they make me so happy. Yay. What else do we got here? I'm looking, again, for Kakar. However you say the name. K-Y-K-A-R. Really would like to get one of those just so that I can make a commander deck based on that. For myself. That's the kind of deck I like to play. You know, Niv Mizzet. You know, I haven't Urza. I haven't made a deck because apparently that's what everybody's doing. I don't like to do what everybody else is doing. I like to do something different. Overgrowth Elemental, another elemental that is really useful for the deck. And that's the card I was hoping to pull other than Kakar. My kind of deck that I like to play, absolutely positively, is a style of Mystic Forge deck. I like this style of deck. It's really good. I'm hoping that I can grab a couple more of them. But getting low on the box here. It doesn't look like I'm going to have too many repeats. And my foil was a Forest. Yeah, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here on the box. Bear with me here. I like that. It's kind of useful in some things. Usually I put things like Bone Splinters and Plummets in to the pile, but I have enough of them from all the other ones. I usually put Sleep Paralysis in because with blue control, sometimes you need to control the creatures. But I may have missed a few. Another Elemental. Let's see if I can't use that in the deck later. And Golos. That's a good one. Good for Commander. I'm really happy with that pull. Either I'm going to make a deck out of it, or I'm going to find somebody who wants to make a deck out of it. It's a good card for Commander. Good Commander. Definitely different. They're really stepping up their game with the Commander stuff that they put in here. And they said they were going to. Alright. Let's see, anything else? We're down to, I think, 2 or 3 packs, so nothing good out of there. I do use Overcomes in the green decks, so I'll put that aside. Not a bad one. Good for Commander. I can use that in a Nakusar deck if I need to. I do have a Nakusar deck myself. I do like that kind of a style deck, so I will take a look at that and see if it's worth using. Alright, no Kakar so far. Come on. Of all the things I have on my list, Kakar was the one I starred and dotted and circled. And that's all I cared really about from this box. But looks like out of the 2 boxes I did buy for Core Set, I did not get one. I will say this, for Core Sets I don't usually buy a case. I'm regretting that decision now because this Core Set was way better than a lot of others. But at the same time, it's still a Core Set. Leyline. Not bad. Come on, 1 Kakar. I didn't get a Lotus Field either, which is unusual. I didn't get one out of either box I opened. Wow. Vampire. Vampires are hot right now. And Elementals. And Manifold Key, I'm sure I can use. Alright, what do we got here? Not horrible, but not really usable. More excited about the duel. Alright, last pack, people. Let's see if I get Kakar. And if I don't, well, I guess I gotta go buy one itself. Yeah, we're gonna put that aside because I think I can use that. Winged Words is a good one. Apparently flying is a thing again. Alright. Here we go. No! I did not get Kakar. I got a rare that's been reprinted in 19,000 sets. And a full unsummon. Oh, what a disappointment. Alright, well, let's see what we got here. Got a lot of usable stuff that I can make decks with. Rares and the foils were not that great. Got a Golos. The Mystic Forge I'm happy with, but the Temples I'm not. Got some ley lines. Is that the green one? Yeah, okay, so that's a good one. The Regulator shouldn't have been a rare, but whatever. So, this is all the rares and foils. No Kakar. So, yep, out of everything I got, not a horrible box, but could have been better. And of course I'm saying that because of Kakar. However, the Risen Reef was a nice surprise. And I will enjoy that for years to come. So, alright folks, that's all I got for you today. I'm going to be opening up another box again in a couple of days, maybe a week or two. And I will post it up online. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.